Hey everyone, welcome to the Troy Christian High School Chapel Podcast. At the end of this episode, please take a moment to subscribe to our Chapel YouTube channel and follow our Chapel Instagram account. Those two places will be the easiest way to check out what's coming up, as well as find some bonus content from our speakers and worship team. Most importantly, I hope the following message challenges and encourages you to grow in your relationship with God as you learn to love God and love others better. Enjoy. All right, welcome to this week's podcast, the Troy Christian High School Chapel. We have a treat for you today. A long-time listener, first-time guest. That's right. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. It is the wizard, Mr. Tim Jackson, in the office.
What an introduction.
Of the podcast. I know, right? I was thinking about it all morning long, just like, how do I introduce this man that makes things behind the scenes, making things happen, and you're a wizard, man. You're a wizard.
That was the first thought on your mind when you woke up this morning.
Not quite, but it was an early thought though. It was an early thought because I woke up, and you wake up, you got to get into the rhythm of things, and you start thinking about your day. And I thought, you know what today is? It's podcast day.
I was pretty excited about that.
I know. It's a good time. It's a good time. Hey, we want to talk about. You just spoke in chapel, and fantastic message, by the way.
Thank you.
But I want to get into some things from that. But first, we got to I'm sure there's going to be some folks who are listening to this today that haven't seen you in a while. We need some updates. What's going on in Tim Jackson's life right now? Because I know I'm excited. I want to jump into
this.
This
is a leading question. I know where this is headed.
It's a big leading question. So skip all the other stuff. Go right to the heart of what's really going on right now.
So for those of you who are completely unaware, after a long, arduous 29 years of singleness, finally have a girlfriend.
Hey, let's go. Girlfriend time.
Right? Should I just spend the rest of the podcast hyping her up?
You could.
Because I know that she's one of the few people listening to me right now. And it is her birthday, so
hey, that's
I feel
right.
like I
Happy
should shout
birthday.
her out.
Happy
Amanda, I know that you're listening wherever you're at. I hope that you're somewhere dignified right now and not listening in the bathroom or something.
Oh, man.
This is a terrible shout out.
Yeah,
I'm doing a bad job. Happy birthday, Amanda. You are the light of my life. Is that better?
That's all you needed, actually. But
I really hope her parents don't listen to this episode.
Being able to meet Amanda, she will appreciate that whole scene, I think. What you just gave there or whatever. That's great. How long you guys been dating now?
We started seeing each other in mid-June, so
okay,
a little over 4 months.
Yeah, we have this in the office here. 2020's been a weird, difficult year for a lot of people. It has been a great year for Tim Jackson, though, right?
I thrive in the worst years for the world. You remember 2016, where every celebrity ever died?
Oh.
Everybody was mourning that whole year, but you know what? I got a job that year. I was thriving.
Yeah.
I was living
Unreal.
In 2016.
Unreal.
2020, same way.
Crazy.
Everything's on fire, but not in my life.
Your love life's on fire, baby. Come on.
My love life is on fire.
That's right. That's oh man, good times. Well, we're happy for you. And also, I just got to say, we've said this internally a little bit, but what a gem to find. Tim, you're an alumni of Troy Christian. Mm-hmm. You ran tech crew with me for years, and then you went off to college, and you started working at another Christian school in our area for a couple years, 2 years, I think, something
2
like
years.
that. And you had some other jobs before that, but you started working at another Christian school, doing video stuff for them. Did you help with chapels to some degree?
A very little bit. Not
bit?
Very much.
And we snatched you up from there. And I'm just saying, they don't know what they lost. Because what tech guy, what guy that runs camera and lights and sounds can also bring the heat, bring the word in chapel in the way that you do. And so I'm just saying, man, it has been you have been a great hire, a great addition to the team. We're glad you're a part of it. So
I'm glad to be here with you, Scott.
Yeah.
Just every day. Just staring at your face. I love it.
Oh man, it's this. We started a series. You kicked us off in the series Focus, and it really is. If we're going to choose light, if we're going to choose Christ, the key to that really is how do we maintain our focus in that, especially when so much can be going on around you, both good and bad. 2020 can be the worst year of your life, or in your case, it could be one of the best years of your life. Either way, it can be hard to maintain a focus on Christ in such a way that you are continuing to follow him closely. And you kicked us off really well just by kind of addressing some of those ideas about what does it look like to follow Christ both in the good times and the bad times. Can you talk us through a little bit about what thought processes, like what was coming to your mind as you were preparing for chapel that kind of led you to go in the direction that you went for your message?
Yeah. So, 2020 has been such a hard year for everybody. Like, even in the midst of the good, there's bad. Mm-hmm. Even in the midst of the bad, there's good. But, like, trying to lock in on where's my heart at this whole time has been a thing for me. And I look at a lot of, like, the older Christian men that have been in my life, that as they get up there, get to that place that Tommy was talking about last week of, like, being bitter.
Oh, yeah.
And my thought is like, wow, I really don't want that for me.
Yeah.
And so how do you continue to have that mindset? And it's funny because I remember, like, the first time I really sat and read Philippians all the way through was a sermon series we were doing at my church, like, back when I was in college, and being like, wow, this is all that. This is all mindset. And you had just spoken last month, I think, about Philippians 4, which is one of the things that I always draw myself back to, because that thing where Paul's talking about, like, I know how to be abased, I know how to abound.
Yeah.
Knowing how to do both is so pivotal to locking in on Christ, because when you're in that place of, like, I'm focused on, it doesn't matter what place I'm in. It doesn't matter if things are going badly. It doesn't matter if things are great. And oftentimes it's even harder when things are going well.
Oh, yeah.
Because when things are going well, it can get distracting.
Yeah.
So
I feel like when things are going well, there's no need to look elsewhere. When things are going poorly for you, that's all we're doing is looking elsewhere. Like, where is my help coming from?
Right. You don't feel like you need answers anymore. Like, you've got your answers. Your answers are, hey, things are working. And I think that's how we're innately built.
Yeah.
That's the heart of education is failure, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Experience is oftentimes said to be one of the greatest teachers, and as you experience things, the thing about experience, though, is it's a brutal teacher.
Oh, it is.
It, like, you will probably learn, but you're going to be left with some bruises and scars and things along the way. That's what experience does. When you can learn by observation, when you can learn by sitting at someone else's feet and learning the experiences that they've had, and the lessons that they've learned from it, and be able to apply that, I feel like the growth that you have is exponential. Experience takes a while, but when you need to really kind of lock in on something, there's sometimes no better teacher than going through a season that you learn those things. Right.
Well, and I think specifically, you said the more that you can learn, like, from somebody else, I think that's a huge part of this. And who better to learn from than the Apostle Paul?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because, I think people too often treat the Bible as if it's just this list of, like, rules that we should follow, and not like there's so many great human examples of people who are just struggling and trying to do their best.
Yep.
And we can learn a lot from those people.
Yeah. One of the things that you brought out in your message last week, you talked about how these letters, like Philippians, for instance, Paul is in prison. Mm-hmm. And the reason why we have this letter is because he's going through, an awful season of life, right? Like, and yet it's out of that something, not just something good, but it's something incredibly life-giving for us thousands of years later birthed. And the line I think you said is, if that's not a reason, or if that's not proof that, you know, these that God is working good out of this season of negativity or darkness, then, you know, what else is there that you need for proof for that? And I think through the times in my life where in the moment I would have considered it just dark, you know, just like so difficult that you don't know if you're going to be able to get through it. Mm-hmm. And yet now, like hindsight, looking back, I'm like, man, those are some of the times that I've seen God working and moving the most.
Right.
How do you, and I know you've had similar experiences in your own life, how do you maintain that perspective though in the midst of going through the difficulty? Like, that's the hard part, right?
Right. Yeah, no, I feel like, and I've said this a lot of times, I think, I feel like memory is it, right? Every day is a new ball game. Every day is a new chance for this, but it's a matter of when we call back to mind the times where God's been good, when we call back to mind this idea of like, we are not the whole tree, we are not the whole machine, we're a cog in it, we're a part of this, we're part of something bigger than us. I think that pulls us back into this place, because it's really easy for me to get upset in a moment and be like, where's God at? Why has he abandoned me?
Yeah,
I think that's a very normal human reaction to suffering.
Sure.
But when we kind of pull back from that and get that 1,000-foot view and go, oh, this is being painted into something bigger. This is becoming a bigger thing. And the more that we draw back to those times of remembering, like, hey, I went through a really difficult time like a few years ago, and God got me through that. And he was not just like okay in getting me through that. It wasn't just like I got back to a neutral place. Like, I'm in an even better place now.
Absolutely.
So remembering those times helps us get through it. I remember in like a really difficult season for myself, where I was like still just kind of dealing with the loss of a friend. One of the things that for me was just like that reminder was every day I'd kind of like stop and look at the sunset and be like, okay, like there's something good in this day. There's something like beautiful in this day. Even if it was difficult, even if it was hard, there's beauty to be found here. And so like that, finding those little touchstones gives us that way to move forward. And I think that's a lot of why you see this response in the Old Testament of like somebody has an encounter with God and they build an altar, because that becomes that reminder for them and for future generations. Like God was here, God was present, even when things were difficult. Like God was present in the middle of this.
Yeah. One way a lot of people tend to deal with hardships and difficulties is when things are going bad, they tend to like go more inward and kind of close down even more. I've seen a lot of people do that. When you said like, hey, I'm dealing with the loss of a friend, and one of the things that was helpful is for me just to see the sunrise or the sun and see like, okay, man, there's something good here. That tendency just to like get just to pull inward. I think of this has been something for me. I'm like the way I process things a lot of times is like to try to get away from whatever I'm dealing with, I don't go inward, I go like far away. Like that's how I deal with it.
Enneagram 7.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And so I've always been perplexed. I mean, I get it on one level, but I've always been perplexed by like when people are going through a dark time, they're depressed or whatever, and they go to music that's like also depressing. Because my tendency is like, give me something like upbeat, so I can get away from this. But I feel like that I understand like there's language to music that helps you process things. But I also feel like there's this tendency to continue to go inward, and as a result, we miss those moments where like we can see the good, we can see how God is at work. And oftentimes it's almost, I don't want to use the phrase lowering the bar, but I think we're trying to look for like these huge ways that God's working, when a lot of times it's just like those subtle, it's like right in front of us.
Right.
And it's just we just got to be able to open our eyes enough to be able to see like, oh, there's more light than what we're picking up here.
I think sometimes it's almost a matter of speed.
Yeah.
Right. When you're driving in a car and you drive through a town, you catch like the big giant like milestone things. You know, if I'm in the middle of downtown Seattle and I'm driving, I'm gonna obviously see like the Space Needle. I'm gonna see some of the statues in like the Olympic Sculpture Park. I'm gonna see all these different things. If you're on a bike, you're gonna catch a little bit more. If you're walking, you're gonna catch the most. You're gonna catch all of those little details about that place that you would have missed because you were moving so fast. So I think sometimes it's just a matter of kind of slowing ourselves down and being willing to see, because what you go looking for, you're going to find.
Yeah,
and if you're looking for the goodness of God, you're going to see it.
Yep.
And it's everywhere.
Yep. That's such a good metaphor, analogy for understanding how we pick up, you know, how God's working around us. Another metaphor you used in chapel was that process of beginning to date Amanda. Yeah, this was a great metaphor. It's why, you know, we do go into some relationships when we're wanting something specific out of it. We go into it trying to play the game, like trying to get something, and as a result, it can oftentimes self-sabotage the whole thing. You said a shift took place for you as you started to date Amanda. Talk us. I got some questions about that, but talk us through that metaphor a little bit more.
Yeah. So it's funny. I think a lot of it's how we met, because I was still actively a lot of times in that place of trying to play the games. And I think for a lot of us, that comes from a place of fear. That comes from a place of like, we don't know how to interact. So we go back to something that's safe and simple.
Yeah.
Rules make us feel safe, because if I can follow the rules, anybody can follow the rules. Right.
There is a, and it's, I would argue that it is a false narrative that if you play by the rules, you'll get the result that the rules promise to give.
Right.
And that's like, that's not how life works all the time.
Right. We like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But what's funny is the way that Amanda and I met, she was in the process of potentially moving to Atlanta like that week. And our very first date, I went into it with this attitude of like, okay, you know what? For once in my life, I'm just going to chill out. Like, there's probably no future with this girl anyway, because she's moving to Atlanta. So I'm just going to go and I'm going to have a good time with somebody who seems like they're really cool. And okay, this one's a freebie.
Yeah.
I don't have to be super serious.
Yeah.
The next one, I will.
Yeah. There was no anticipation for the relationship going anywhere up front.
Right.
So there was no like game to play because there was no end goal in mind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My only goal in that date was like, I'm just going to chill with her. I'm just going to be with her and eat some buttered noodles and like hang out.
Some buttered noodles?
Yeah, we went to Noodles and Company on the first date. Okay. So that's a plug, Noodles and Company.
There it is. This podcast brought to you.
Promo code Noodle20. That's it.
Right.
Yeah, no. So like, I was just like, I'm going to go and hang out and get to know this girl. Because like, I have to get to know this girl. She just seems really cool. And I regret it if I missed out on this chance before she moves to Atlanta. I'm hoping she doesn't move to Atlanta now that she's moved to Troy.
Yeah. Well, after your like birthday shout out, she may be reconsidering. It's good though.
It's true.
No, there's a different pressure that really was removed when you kind of went into it with different expectations,
Right. Well, and there was this kind of moment in the first date for us that she seemed a little bit nervous around me as well. And I just I stopped and I was like, listen, you don't have to be nervous around me at all. Like, the absolute worst case scenario of this is like, this date goes really, really uncomfortably and you move to Atlanta and you never talk to me or see me again.
Yeah.
That's pretty easy. And I feel like having that burden removed of like, I have to do all the right things in order to make a relationship form. Having that burden removed allowed the relationship to form. It allowed the thing that I wanted to happen in the first place to happen organically.
Yeah.
But we had to kind of like get that specter of like rule following and like living into this thing of like we've got to work to make this happen.
Yeah.
We had to get that out of there.
Yeah, you had said, you would go into these relationships because ultimately you were wanting the security of being in a relationship.
Right.
And that drove the rule following, right? And if we could understand this about what it looks like to be in a relationship with God the Father, with Jesus, to understand that like we, especially in an early age, and I think because we get introduced to Christianity, a lot of people get introduced to Christianity really early. You go into Christianity, a lot of people with the end goal of, I just don't want to go to hell.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do, so what are the rules I need to do? What are the rules I need to follow in order to like not end up there? And as a result, we miss the whole point. Like we miss the whole relationship with Jesus. We miss the whole relationship with God. That's such a powerful metaphor to kind of wrestle with, because then it starts to allow you to ask the questions of like, what expectations do I have of my relationship with Christ? Am I going into it purely because I want a relationship with the God who wants a relationship with me? Or am I going into it to get something out of it, outside of that relationship? Am I trying to just avoid punishment?
Right.
Or am I doing it so that I can get some kind of like, spiritual high or spiritual feeling from it? Because anytime that becomes the end goal, it's going to lead you down a path that misses the relationship that you really should be after with it.
And that really just sucks the joy out of everything.
It really does.
You're so constantly focused on like trying to reach that next step and trying to like power your way to the next place that you need to be at, that you don't get to actually enjoy the experience of doing any of it.
For sure. Tim, thanks so much for just bringing that word, bringing those metaphors, bringing that picture of what it looks like to begin to focus on Christ, especially focusing on developing a real relationship with Him as we go into this series. We've got a couple more coming up where we're talking about how you navigate all the distractions around you, and then just how does that then lead us into a unity of a body, which I believe is probably one of the most significant elements that we're missing right now in the church.
For sure.
Is what does it look like for us to be one body? So that's where we're kind of heading over the next few weeks. Tim, proud of you. Thanks for jumping in and kind of sharing your heart a little bit. And Amanda, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Amanda. Love you so much.
That's awesome. Thanks for joining us on the podcast, and continue to jump in. Want to just remind you, check out our YouTube channel, subscribe. You get all those chapel messages, the video. You get the worship times with that. You can check us out on Instagram as well to see what's coming up.
If you love our voices, you're going to really love our faces.
Well, that's questionable.
Yeah, I'm not sure they even love our voices, Scott.
Yeah, they may not, but that's okay. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time.